Welcome back to TV Toastmasters. Tonight, we're going to be talking about a fascinating aspect of our economy, the growth of entrepreneurship, especially amongst millennials and the emerging generations. We are happy to be joined by Steve Bustrin, who is a millennial and an entrepreneur. He's going to be talking about H2 digital marketing. Welcome, Steve.
Hey, thank you.
Okay, so what is H2?
H2 Digital is an online marketing company. We work with consumer good products across the world on their social media campaigns, email marketing campaigns, and we work with their sales development on their marketing pitches.
So you're doing international work?
Yeah, we work with consumer good products everywhere from Australia, New Zealand, London, Canada, Mexico, all over the place.
Oh, cool. Some of your clients, do you have any clients our audience would recognize?
Yeah, well, specifically, I can't say that.
Oh, you can't say that.
But I can say some of the industries. Work in the e-cig industry as well as CBD. We work with consumer good products, so everything from like lotions, medicines, accessories like watches, shirts, shoes. I mean, pretty much anything you can put on your body and ship it, we're doing it for you.
Yeah. So why did you start H2?
Kind of a long story, but I'll make it short. I went to school here in Portland, Oregon. Was studying elementary education. It didn't really work out for me, and I spent a year just taking time off, doing some different jobs. Eventually got into financial planning, working with a company out in Lake Oswego, and long story short, I found a niche for marketing for myself and jumped into commercial photography, and from there, just with my marketing entrepreneur background, I jumped into making this a full-time gig. Just jumped out of it. It's about end of 2014 when I started all of this and progressed from commercial photography into a full-fledged online marketing company.
Wow, so you've gone from financial planning, photography, elementary education into digital marketing.
Yeah, and it's pretty interesting. I'm a strong advocate for finding experience in life. I mean, there's a huge millennial generation that is out there, sitting at home doing the whole 9-to-5 job and like frustrated with not being able to pay bills, and I was right there. I mean, I was on food stamps and have a whole lot of money going for me, a whole lot of things going for me. I just graduated college, and I wanted to, just make something for myself. So, did that whole thing.
So describe a typical day for Steve. What's the life of an entrepreneur like?
Typical day in the life for myself. I get up, go to the gym, work out, or have a morning routine. Usually, it's listening to some audiobook or doing some reading. Then I get into some morning work. Depending on the time zone of the client that I work with, really decides on the day of when I start. So if I'm working overseas, a company out in London, they're 8 hours ahead of me. I mean, I'm doing some work 6 in the morning, 5 in the morning, sometimes 4 in the morning for them. So it really depends on what the day presents itself in the morning. But most of the time, it's a lot of meetings, a lot of phone conferences and FaceTimes with people overseas, things like that. So. I'm working, and then if I can, work ahead of time and get things done early, sometimes I can have like a quote-unquote day off, which really is typically just meeting more people or, going to the gym or hanging out with friends.
Okay. So tell me, so you've chosen this course of going off on your own, rather than taking the traditional career path. Why did you do that? Why?
That's a good question. I decided in my life, I've always had these dreams, I've always had these big aspirations of what I wanted to do, right? And we all have dreams when we're a kid. We want to be Superman, we want to be Spider-Man, some people want to be, aquarium zookeeper or something, right? And for me, I've always wanted to just finish college, play sports in college. I was raised with a really cool family to bring me up with having school as an importance. And I'm a strong believer in that. I mean, I think that everybody should have some sort of backbone in life. I mean, the traditional way of life is go through school, find a career, get married, do that thing, and then recycle the whole process. So for me, it was when I got done with college, I just had all these experiences that really catered towards entrepreneurship. And there's a lot of things that I don't think schools really teach you about inside of entrepreneurship and just being an individual salesman or business person. And I think some of those skill sets are really important to have. So for me, I finished school and just accumulated all the experiences that I had, and I said, hey, I can create a service out of this. And from all the motivational books that you read and audiobooks that you listen to, you get kind of like a leap of faith just to go try something. And out of all the people that I was reading, they all had some big failures or big setbacks, and I felt like at that time that was a big setback in my life, not being able to, have education, career, and really have this like stability that I wanted. So just took the cards that was dealt in front of me and put it together and just kind of went for it. And I think if it didn't work out as well as it has been, and maintain a company for almost 4 years, straight, where it's just continual growing, I don't think I'd be doing what I'm doing. But yeah.
So you mentioned you're a reader, audiobooks. Can you name a couple of the books that have influenced you really heavily?
Yeah, so there was a book called 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, basically just how to compress your life. We're so used to like clocking in and clocking out of things. I mean, I went to school where the bell rang to start school, the bell rang to finish school, and it's a very traditional mindset, but Tim Ferriss, he's a great writer. He has these really out-of-the-box theories, and one of them that really stood out to me was like compressing your work. And what that really means is instead of doing the whole 9-to-5 job, where he argues, and he actually has a graph of all this stuff inside of his book, but he says that most people don't actually work the full 9 to 5. I mean, you have your 15-minute breaks, you have your 30-minute lunch, you're probably texting in between, you're probably only working maybe 3 to 5 hours
Checking
of this.
Facebook, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for me, I took that and kind of just ran with it, with everything. I said, what am I doing that's like costing a lot of time, that's not really producing a lot of results? Had one of my business mentors at the time as well tell me about creating like a unit of work for yourself. So traditionally, you get paid for the value you bring to this world, right? Globally, it's different rates, obviously, but in the States specifically, the more education you have traditionally, the more you're going to get paid, or the more experience you have with your education, you're going to get paid. But when you're going to like a basic 9-to-5 job where you haven't had any experience, coming out of college, I mean, I spent all my tuition money on going to school, right? I didn't have a whole lot going for me, but most people during my era was to have experience and the credentials. So I had, the credentials. I have an undergrad, but I didn't have any experience, so it was like really hard for me to find a job. And I spent probably 4 or 5 months after college trying to find a job, and that's when I started diving into the books. Like, well, maybe I should, do something on my own for the time being, just to, maybe have something going for me on the side. I mean, I've done everything from a lawn mowing service job to a cell phone buyback company. I mean, I was doing this stuff in high school, grade school. I mean, but yeah, circling back to the books, I just accumulated a lot of these things. There's Slight Edge. There's How to Win and Influence Friends by Dale Carnegie, which is a huge book for me. And so I took that like knowledge from my experience and I mulched it into basically a business, and just took a leap of faith, like I said, and it's been working out ever since.
So it sounds like even in your younger days, you had a bit of a hustle to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've come from, multiple generation family of entrepreneurs. My grandpa had a trucking business. I just remember growing up watching my grandpa always having garage sales every weekend. My family both have had their own businesses. My dad had a construction business. My mom, she's a nurse. She just retired this year, but she had like a toe cleaning service. So I always was around it, and maybe in support of my family, they just put these experiences out on the table for me to learn. For one example, I had all these prizes and all these toys that I wanted to have. And when you go into Walmart or Target or something, you see that kid crying over that toy. Well, I was that kid too, but instead of my parents spanking me, telling me to shut up, they're like, well, let's go home and let's talk about how we can earn some of these. And so I just remember picking out all my favorite toys. They put it, took all those toys, went home, my parents did, and they put it in this closet for me to see. All these like great prizes, but they said in order for you to earn one of those, you have to do a week worth of work. And for me, I'm 5, 6 years old, so it was simple things like cleaning 2 dishes or putting my socks away, things like that. And so I just always have been instilled to have this like work before pleasure mentality. And so having these different experiences, even at a younger age, being 26 now, is really put into perspective that we go to work to exchange something, whether it's time, money, whatever, for a good or another service. And so for me, I just took the practice of this and having this habit of work before pleasure, or being able to really map out like where my success can be as an individual, it started back when I was younger.
So it sounds too like one of those lessons that you learned early on was that you had to give something of value before you can get one of those toys off the shelf, right?
Yeah, I mean, everybody is exchanging something. We're exchanging time for money. We're exchanging our efforts, our energy for something else. I mean, some people wake up and trade off sleep to look better going to the gym. You know, a lot of motivational speakers say to like sacrifice things and just focus on, you know, specific tasks that get you to an objective. So we're always exchanging something for another thing. And for me, I just took those principles, or whatever you want to call it, wisdom, if you will, to, you know, my own personal life and say, like, what am I exchanging currently for what do I want? And, you know, made some decisions, you know, like I said, through the experience of different things that I had, you know, happened to me at the time to, you know, shape who I am today.
So let me ask a question so you've picked this path. Can you describe for our audience like some of the hard things about being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, entrepreneurship is difficult because everybody can be a business owner. Everybody can say they're an entrepreneur. Everybody can be a part of some, you know, direct marketing company or something. And the hard thing about it is you really are giving up a lot more than, you know, a traditional worker. You know, one thing that a traditional job provides is security, where you know that you're exchanging a certain amount of hours, or you're exchanging, you know, having a salary pay, 40 hours for this or whatever. I mean, there's some weeks that I'm working 70, 80, 90 hours, 17-hour days. I mean,
what happened to the 4-hour work week?
Well, you know, put in perspective, at the time, you know, business had just started for me. I mean, I remember when I first started, I'd get up 4 o'clock in the morning and work till 11 o'clock at night. I mean, I was talking to companies, you know, in London, and then at nighttime people in China. So when you have this like desire to get something, and the desire comes from like a can to like a must, you exchange, you know, certain things. So circle back to your question about, you know, difficulties of entrepreneurs, you have this like time balance, or in the work field they call it like work-life balance, right? Scheduling out your own time and having your own schedule, being basically your own boss, your own janitor, your own motivator, your own facilitator. I mean, it's hard to wear multiple hats.
So you're the buck stops with you on everything.
Pretty much, but that's what's awesome about business development. What's like so addicting to business for myself is seeing how you can piece different things together to make something bigger than yourself work. And I've always had this desire to create something that allows me to, you know, provide for my children's children. And there's a big why in why people become an entrepreneur, or why people become a business owner. And it differentiates from people to people. But for me, at the time, I mean, I was on food stamps. I remember working finance, looking across the table at this guy that was making $90,000 off of my work. Not even me, and I'm getting paid $10 an hour. So it wasn't that it wasn't fair. I just was looking at him. I said, what's different between this guy and myself? And a lot of it just had to do with the status in which, you know, I was doing what I was doing. I mean, I was the bottom feeder of the company. So over time, I'm sure I would have worked myself up to that, but just made a decision for myself to branch out and be the guy that gets paid that, because why not?
So last question. Over the last decade or so, we've seen the rise of incubators, we've seen the rise of entrepreneurship programs, incredible interest in it. So for any person thinking about, well, maybe I want to go explore that path, what would be a piece of wisdom that you would share with them?
Yeah, it's a great question. A lot of times you have something that you really like. I mean, I'm sure that you have hobbies. We all have hobbies. We're just in an era right now that we can monetize off those hobbies. We have Twitch, we have YouTube Live, Facebook Live. We have all these like live streaming opportunities where you can monetize off of playing video games, taking selfies on Instagram and selling your product or your pictures. There's a lot of ways to make money to do that, but you know, my advice looking back or telling like a younger self is, you know, not to be controlled by the fear of trying to produce something for yourself, because if you really think about it, every company that started known to mankind started with somebody's vision and someone's idea. So if I just think that if you have an idea that you want to aspire and try to monetize off of, figure out who's actually done it before. And maybe you look up, let's say in sports, a lot of people look up to Michael Jordan in basketball, right? I would just suggest, taking whatever it is and modeling yourself after that person's craft. And, at the time for myself, I was jumping into a lot of different books and a lot of successful people and figuring out what was their backstory. And you could see a lot of the struggles and things that they went through. So my advice would be is whatever aspiration you have or whatever situation that you want to put yourself into, like, don't allow other people to say you can and can't do, but find out who's doing it and who's doing it well, and shape your personality, your attitude, everything around that person, just so you can get the vision or put yourself for just a moment in what their shoes are like.
Okay, so if somebody wants to find out how to do things well and wants to follow you, how do they find out more information about you?
You can look me up on social media. It's at Handshakes and Hugs. It's probably hard to look up, but if you just type in Handshakes and Hugs, you'll figure that out. You can always shoot me an email. It's steven.bustrin@h2digital.co. Other than that, just Google H2 Digital and a lot of things will pop up.
We will do that. So thank you for joining us tonight. And I wanted to say, too, that the changing nature of our economy, the rise of entrepreneurship is one of the most intriguing trends that we see in society about what can happen in terms of people building careers, building lives that they get to control. So I want to thank Steve once again for joining us. And once again, I am Michael Brand. Let's get back to work.
Welcome to an opportunity to take the next step of your professional speaking journey. I want you to be honest with yourself. Have you ever wished you were a star in a television show or at an event where the media is interviewing bystanders and you are wanting to be picked to give your opinion of the event? Or even in the smallest sense, you're at a sports game and secretly hope that your smiling face would appear on that big jumbo screen TV? But the jumbo screen always finds the fans with the painted faces. And you think to yourself, maybe next time. Well, what if I can offer you a chance to be on TV? Would you take it? That is what I want to offer you now. I'm Dottie Love, Associate TV Producer and Director. Toastmasters International is one of the largest organizations whose mission is to help improve your speaking skills. And District 7 is expanding your opportunities to do speaking via television. We have 4 fully equipped television studios and TV Toastmaster broadcasts to over 500,000 homes, plus a YouTube channel. Who knew? We want to invite you to take advantage of using media and television, either in front or behind the scenes. Let me share a few options that you have. First, you can be a guest on a show. Highlight your business or hobby or your community interest. Anything you're passionate about. Be a featured guest. Secondly, you can train to be a host on an ongoing TV segment. We will train you for that. Third, what about creating your own talk show? We will train you for that as well and give you access to a community media studio to do just that. Or lastly, be behind the scenes, either running a camera or editing shows. You decide which avenue is best for you, and our TV Toastmasters team will help you to navigate to get the most out of your media experience. Personally, I've done them all. I started as a guest, went to hosting, up to directing my own TV show. I don't tell you this to impress you. I tell you this to impress upon you that your personal growth with Toastmasters is directly related to what you take advantage of. And I encourage you to be bold in looking for opportunities to stretch and grow. If this intrigues you, or if you have club members who you think that might be interested in this, please contact us here at TV Toastmasters. I'm Dottie Love, And you can reach me or any of us in the TV Toastmasters family at the contact information at the bottom of the screen. You can also find us on the web. Our website is 7512.toastmastersclub.org.
Hi, I'm Deb Hart. I'd just like to share with you how appreciative I am of being able to be a TV Toastmaster host. I get to share stories within the community, have people come on the show and educate the viewers, and talk about a subject that I'm very familiar with, and that's health. I encourage you to come aboard and be a part of our TV Toastmasters Host Club. It's fun. You'll have a good time.
Have a story that others need to hear? Seeking an audience for your message? Have an experience that can transform the lives of others? Practice your message and perfect its delivery in a TV studio while creating content for regional, national, and international exposure. That's right, get seen by an ever-increasing audience. Visit TV Toastmasters.
Ken Coombs here, speaking about TV Toastmasters. As an area director, I see more value in that venue than perhaps some of you do, so I want to share that. Providing a televised voice for District 7, its clubs, and their members not only gives people a chance to come here and get a project ticked off that says speak on television, it gives contestants in an area contest or a division or a district contest at least a chance to come and practice and see what they look like. It gives people a chance to share an important message with the district, whatever that might be. So consider your next speech perhaps being on television. Not your 15 minutes of fame, but your chance to reach a broader audience.